So I'm a very old school, traditional follower of Christ. So, and not just a traditional follower of Christ, old school. I'm old school, OG, okay? Traditional Western man as well. Alright. Which is based on being OG, traditional, old school follower of Christ. Alright. So, the OG, right, boss, alpha, Chad, legend way, alright, of being a disciple of Christ entails being masculine and being a traditional man. Now, because I'm a traditional man, I have certain beliefs and opinions which upset Satan and therefore everyone who serves Satan and is opposed to Christ and God. Alright? Such as, I believe, and it's crazy how controversial this is in this day and age. It's actually insane how people react to what I'm about to say. And even if you're not a full-blown, insane, demon-worshipping, serving, Satan-serving dog, alright, you'll still probably have some type of reaction, alright, that's been embedded in you by Satan, right, to be in opposition to Christ and God. You'll probably have some reaction as soon as you hear, right, even if you're traditional, old school follower of Christ yourself, alright, maybe you're just not as established in your faith and traditions as a man like myself is. But you'll get there eventually, or you'll hate God and hate Christ and give up on God and Christ, and you'll serve Satan. Okay? So, what's one of these opinions that an OG legend has? Well, it's, again, crazy. It's actually insane how controversial this is. Alright, but I believe, I have the opinion, which everyone has the right to have their own opinions and beliefs. Alright? But plenty of people will try to make out like I'm not allowed because my belief is based in traditionalism and God and Jesus Christ. So I'm not allowed to have my opinions and beliefs, but everyone else is, apparently. Alright. It's so bad, apparently, even though it's just actually a normal perspective. It's actually the norm, but Satan's flipped the world on its head so much that something that's actually just the norm is seen as like outlandish and wild and, alright, radical or something. So this simple opinion and perspective, this idea, alright, which is actually the norm, but has been flipped on its head by Satan, so people don't realise that this is the norm, alright, is that sometimes you need to backhand a woman, right? You don't need to abuse her, you don't need to beat her, you don't need to be mean or nasty, alright? None of that. So people always try to, that's another thing, people always like, they hear you say something, but they're not actually hearing what you're saying, and they just like make up a bunch of other stuff in their head that you're not actually saying. That always happens with this subject. When you say, in my opinion, sometimes a woman just needs to be backhanded. You know, just a backhand across the cheek, put her in her place. And people run with that. Then they're like, oh, You're so bad. You're misogynist, or you want to abuse women and you hurt women and all of this. It's like, what the fuck are you on about, bro? I just said backhander. Like, I didn't say abuser, cunt. Like, if you think saying backhand your woman when she's being fucking psycho or needs to be put in her place because she's getting lippy, right? She's like manifesting Satan, right? It's like what happened with Adam and Eve in the garden, right? Satan like gets into her, tempts her, gets into her, possesses her, and then she's like full-blown fucking manifesting a demon or Satan. She's possessed by a demon or Satan, and she's like coming at you to attack you demonically. And it's like, oh no, you can't backhand her. That's, oh no, bro. You just gotta let her fucking get possessed by Satan and just fucking be a bitch and just fucking just say, yes, Satan, I'm your bitch, Satan. Yes, Satan, yes, alright. You can possess my woman and fucking run me down and fucking take my authority and ridicule God. Like, and you're just gonna be a bitch about, or are you gonna be like, get behind me, Satan. I serve God, cunt. Get behind me, Satan. Backhand your woman, slap the devil out of her, cunt. And then she goes back to normal, and she's just fucking a good woman again, and she fucking does as she's told, and she's obedient and quiet and gentle and submissive. Like she's supposed to be. Otherwise, she fucking gets possessed by demons, and she runs wild, and she fucking destroys civilization. First she destroys the family, she destroys a man, then she destroys the family, then she destroys the community, then she destroys all of civilization. Okay? And you can see now, like in Minnesota or whatever it is in America, with the ICE agents and these single women, alright, who are jumping in their cars and they're ramming ICE agents and they're fucking getting themselves shot in the fucking face and shit. Like getting themselves shot dead in the face for no fucking reason but to terrorize fucking police and officers doing their job. Simply to destroy civilization. To just destroy. For no reason but to fucking destroy and create chaos. Okay? So that's what happens with women if you don't backhand the devil out of them. Don't give them a backhand, don't slap them every now and again, and slap the fucking demons out of them, so they can just be normal, good women. If you don't, that's where they end up. They end up being weird lesbian women who like put cigarettes out on their own children, and then try to drive cars into offices for no reason but to destroy civilization, serve Satan and the demons, and create utter chaos. But that could all be stopped with just a simple backhand. And apparently that makes me big baddie. It's like people would rather these women going crazy, possessed by demons, driving into offices and getting shot dead in the head, than just to let them have a little backhand every now and again and then be reasonable. Like, that's the actual argument we have here. It's like, I'm saying, I don't want women to be fucked up, to become whores, destroy their lives, go crazy, fucking drive their cars into offices and be shot dead in the fucking face. That's what I'm opposed to. I'd rather we just backhand them every now and again. Just give them that fucking slap across the cheek. Backhand the woman. Yeah? That's what I think is a better idea. And everyone who's opposed to just giving a woman a backhand every now and again would rather women destroy themselves, be whores, be taken advantage of, be traumatized by men using them for sex, be raped, abused, go insane, and then eventually like try to drive into offices and be shot dead in the face. Because that's the two options you got. It's like, do you want women to be doing that, or do you want to just backhand them every now and again? I'm the good guy who would rather just backhand them every now and again, so they don't have to go crazy and be shot in the fucking face. and be whores who get taken advantage of and raped and abused. I'd rather women not be raped and abused and just get slapped in the cheek every now and again, so they're good women who are obedient, who don't get taken advantage of from bad men, nasty men who want to rape and abuse them, use them for sex, mistreat them, traumatise them, etc. But that's the only two choices you have. It's like either you have a woman who you backhand every now and again when she's getting cheeky and lippy, or you have a woman who doesn't get backhand and she runs off to bad men who manipulate and use her and abuse her, and she's going to get raped, abused, taken advantage of, etc. Because no good man wants to backhand her and put her in her place. So it's pretty weird when it's like I said, this is the norm, alright? This is actually the norm, the accepted norm. That yes, you should just backhand women every now and again, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what your own granddad thought when he used to backhand your grandma. And if not your granddad, because maybe he was a bit of a faggot, alright, then your great-granddad, definitely. He backhanded your great-grandma. He thought it was normal. She thought it was normal. Your great-great-granddad, he backhanded your great-great-grandma. They both thought it was fucking normal. And then you go back, each generation, since the dawn of time, and every cunt thought it was perfectly fucking normal. Because it's the norm. It's perfectly normal. It's what you're supposed to do. And that's what every cunt has done for thousands of years, since the dawn of time. Because it's perfectly normal. That's the actual way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to backhand a woman every now and again. That's why it's been like that since the dawn of fucking time. And why even your own grandpa, unless he was a faggot, then your great-grandpa and everyone else in your family thought it was normal, and they'd backhand their wives. Okay? Everyone, your own family members believe it's normal. Not just me. It's not like it's just my idea. Your own fucking ancestors, your own great-grandpa, your own great-grandma, right? All your family members think it's perfectly normal too. It's only just the past, 50, 100 years where cunts have gone all weird and they don't want to backhand women anymore. And now look at the problems that we have, and look at how women's lives have been destroyed, and women are suffering because cunts don't want to backhand women anymore. Because they're weak. So that's how weird it is and how crazy everyone's gotten today. If you say something perfectly normal and accepted throughout all of human history, that's like, yeah, of course a husband should be able to backhand his own wife and put his own woman in her place. Then today, crazy cunts today that are detached from reality are like, oh my god, you want to backhand your wife? Are you a woman abuser? And they start trying to slander you and smear you with all this crazy nonsense. And it's like, bro, I'm like, out of any cunt you know, I'm the main cunt you know that's actually against the abuse of women. I'm like one of the main cunts you know that's actually protecting whole generations of women from abuse with the promotion of normal ideas like this, that women should be backhanded. That's actually what the good cunts are saying, who are protecting whole generations of women. The real masculine men who can actually protect women and children. We backhand them. We discipline them, put them in their place. Because we actually protect them and love them. And if you don't do that, it's like if you don't discipline your child and you let them fuck their life up, harm themselves and those around them, you don't love your child. If you have a dog and you don't discipline your dog and you just let it run out in front of traffic because it doesn't listen, and the dog just gets hit by a fucking truck because it doesn't listen, you never disciplined it. It just does what it wants. So it hurts itself and others. then you don't love the dog. You're a dog yourself, alright? You're a cunt. In the same way with your wife. If you don't discipline your wife, you don't actually love her. You're letting her destroy herself and others and run around and do whatever she wants. That's the same as letting a child run around and harm themselves, or your dog run around and get hit by fucking traffic because it doesn't listen, doesn't know to stay off the road. Because you never disciplined it. You never taught it to stay off the road. You never fucking backhanded it. You never gave your dog a little slap when it would try to go on the road and said, "No, get the fuck off the road, cunt. You're not allowed on the road." So your dog doesn't know, and it just runs on the road and gets hit by a fucking truck. Well, you were a good dog owner, weren't you? You really loved your dog. No, you didn't. You neglected your dog because you didn't discipline it. You didn't punish it and give it a backhand and teach the cunt to not go on the fucking road. Because that's not where dogs go, mate. Alright? And so now your dog's dead because you didn't care about it. In the same way, if you don't backhand your wife, you don't fucking care about her. Unless she's a perfect wife. If she's the perfect wife and you never have to backhand her, fucking beautiful, brilliant. That's ideal. Then you never have to backhand her. Great. But if she's not a perfect wife, already disciplined and trained, like a perfectly trained dog, then you're going to have to train her. You're going to have to discipline her. Like you got to train and discipline children, or you got to train and discipline a dog. Otherwise you don't actually care about them. You're not a good owner. And yes, if you're a Christian man, if you're not Christian, whatever, believe what you want, it's kind of weird actually, even if you have marriage, or you want to talk to me or anyone else about husbands and wives and marriage and how husbands should treat wives or wives should treat husbands. Because if you're not Christian, then I'm not sure what you're actually talking about with marriage. It doesn't really make any sense, because it's a Christian idea. But fair enough. You can have your own weird stuff and do what you want. But if you're actually got a wife, if you're a husband, a man, you've got a wife, a woman, right? That means you're Christian, alright? You're following Jesus Christ. That's why you have a wife and you are a husband. Because the whole point of marriage and the reason why we come together as man and woman, husband and wife, is because that's what Jesus told us to do. Because Jesus said when a man and woman come together, they're married, they're one flesh. So that's what it means to be married. That's where the idea comes from. It actually comes from Jesus Christ. So, people often try to have weird rebuttals, right? The number one that they have is, well, it's not, this ain't really a rebuttal, but the number one reaction people have is, like I was saying, they'll just try to smear or twist what you're saying and try to make out like you're promoting abuse or something. Right? When you're obviously not. It's like, bro, I'm clearly not advocating or condoning any form of abuse. I'm just saying discipline. Like the same way you spank a child to discipline them. Or you grab your dog and spank your dog, or grab it by the scruff of its neck and tell it off in a deep voice to discipline it. Like use physical violence and intimidation to discipline children, dogs, wives, whatever it is, workers, apprentices. It doesn't matter. You got to use violence and intimidation to train and discipline. Otherwise, individuals don't learn anything. Okay? That's why a loving good parent spanks their children when they misbehave. And if you don't love your children, then you don't spank them. Because you don't care and you just let them misbehave. You don't actually care about them or love them. But if you love your children, you want them to have the best possible future in life. You don't want them to misbehave, so you spank the fuck out of them when they do. Because you love them. Okay? That's discipline. So, in the same way, if you love your wife, you have to discipline your wife. Okay? So the first misconception is people will try to make out like, oh, if you're advocating disciplining, you're an abuser. You want to hurt people and abuse people. Not realizing maybe these people are too low IQ, too fucking stupid to understand there's actually a massive difference. There's two different things here. One's called discipline, backhanding your wife to discipline her, and then the other thing that's a completely different thing is called abuse, abusing your wife. Right? Two separate things. And it's like, if I'm saying you should do one of those things, I'm clearly not saying you should do the other thing. But that's what most people's automatic rebuttal or argument is, alright? Which is just their own denial of the facts. Because it's illogical. It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, if I'm saying to discipline, backhand your wife, I'm not saying to abuse her. Alright? Two separate things. If you think they're the same thing, that's your own weird fucking delusion. Alright? Stop trying to project it onto me. If your version of disciplining your wife or your children is to abuse them, that's your own weird shit. Don't project it onto me and say that I'm condoning or advocating abuse when I'm just saying to backhand your wife, slap her a bit, to discipline her. Alright? If you're in your mind, you want to abuse your wife and you want to project that onto what I'm saying to abuse it, then that's your own weird thing, bro. That shows more about you than it could ever say about me. But if you're actually listening to what I'm saying and not just exposing your own weird desire to abuse your wife, alright, then you'll just hear what I'm saying, which is just to backhand her, bro. Just to slap her a bit, backhand her, to discipline her, not abuse her. Okay? You don't abuse your wife. That's bad. You just backhand her and just slap her a little to discipline her. Not abuse. You don't abuse your wife, alright? So for the retard cunts, you don't abuse your wife. Abusing your wife is bad. No, retard. Do not abuse your wife. That's bad, retard. But what you do is you backhand her. When she needs to be backhanded and put in her place to discipline her bad behaviour. You backhand her like you discipline a child, like you spank a child. Okay? Don't abuse her, you fucking retard. Backhand. Can you figure the difference out? Or are you too fucking retarded, cunt? Don't abuse your wife. You just slap her. Just backhand her. Alright? Obviously you can't right now with the current laws because you're going to get in trouble because Satan has created laws that won't allow you to do that. Alright? Because Satan hates God and hates Christ and Christ's example of how to love our wife and discipline our wife. Satan hates that. Satan doesn't want a well-behaved, disciplined wife. He wants these crazy bitches running around, driving cars into offices, getting shot in the fucking face. And women out being raped and abused and taken advantage of. That's what Satan wants. So he's made a law so you're not allowed to backhand your wife at the moment, alright? So obviously you can't break the law because you're going to get in trouble. But you should be allowed to, and it is the right, good thing to do, to discipline those who you love. So it's good, and you should, backhand your wife, alright? Not abuse, retards. Backhand. Only backhand her, only slap her, discipline. Not abuse her, okay? Fucking retards. Big difference. But obviously you can't right now because we have to change the laws back to how they were. Then we can. How like every cunt did, even your own grandpa or your great-grandpa and everyone else in your family since the dawn of time. And everyone thought it was normal, except for the weird cunts today who think it's not normal. Because they're satanic. They serve Satan. Alright? And so that's the main misconception or delusion or, narcissistic, gaslighting type of, attack.
when you just mention something so simple and obvious. And again, which is the norm, and your own grandpa, unless he was a faggot, and your great-grandpa, and everyone else in your family agrees with me and believes what I'm saying is 100% just fucking common sense. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, everyone in your family, your own grandpa and everyone else in your family thinks you're a fucking retard cunt, and that you need to listen to me and understand what I'm saying, because they all understood it for thousands of years, and there's just something wrong with you if you can't comprehend this, right? Not us, not the rest of your family, you know, the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of all your ancestors that came before you, all right? Everyone in your family, all right, and me, we all agree, all right? And it's just you weird cunts that are disagreeing now, that think it's not normal or okay to backhand your wife and put her in her place. Why? Because you all serve Satan now, because the world's become satanic. And Satan doesn't want wives to be backhanded in love. He wants them to be abused instead. Or just let to run wild and to destroy themselves. So, and the only actual rebuttal or argument anyone has ever given, right, to this topic, the only argument anyone gives, and it's so ironic because it's always people who are serving Satan that give this argument, but the only argument they have is, oh, but the Bible says. So this is what these antichrist, God haters, Satan worshippers and atheists use as their argument as to why you shouldn't backhand your wife, right? God says, the Bible says, that you should love your wife the same way Jesus loved the church. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And did Jesus not discipline the church? Exactly. He did. In fact, if you read Revelation, you'll understand that there were some churches who Christ disciplined and they didn't listen. Christ backhanded them and they wouldn't listen. They didn't change their ways. They stayed corrupt. And what happened to them? You can look them up on Google right now, alright? The churches that were written to in Revelation, alright? That Jesus was warning that he's going to destroy them. In love, because he loves them, he's going to destroy them, eradicate, annihilate them from the face of the earth. Kill them all. And you can Google those churches right now, and you can see that they're buried underground and they're rubble. All right? They weren't just destroyed, they were buried underground. Like sunk into the earth and buried underground. Not just destroyed, not just backhanded. Utterly annihilated, obliterated for being disobedient. Punished for disobedience. In love. So that's when these dickheads are like, oh, you're supposed to love your wife the way Jesus loved the church. And it's like, yeah, exactly. That means I'm the king. That means I'm in charge. I make all the decisions. I give the commands. My wife is my slave. She does what she's told and serves me because I'm her king, I'm her master. She doesn't question anything I say. Alright? She has the one mind that I have. So the church is supposed to have Christ's mind. That means that she doesn't think for herself. She doesn't make her own decisions. She lets me make her decisions for her. My mind is her mind. She puts on my mind and doesn't think for herself and just becomes a clone of me and does what I tell her to do and thinks what I want her to think and acts how I want her to act. And if she doesn't, then she gets disciplined and punished. But if she does, she gets rewarded and blessed for being obedient, being a good slave. That's what the Bible says. That's what Jesus says about how he loved the church and how the church is supposed to behave with him and be obedient to him. And that's how a wife is to be with a husband. It's like... What else is there for the example of Christ's love, you know? What are they talking about? Where is it in the way that Jesus loves the church that he's like saying not to reprove or discipline or correct the church or backhand the church? Like, Jesus just outright threatens the church. That's how Jesus shows love to the church, and how we're told as husbands to love our wives. It's like, if they're playing up, you're meant to just threaten them. It's like, you better get your fucking act together or you're going to get fucked up, cunt. Like, that's how Jesus spoke to his own church. And that's how we're told to love our wife. But then when we say, okay, that means we should love like Jesus loved the church, so that's how we should love our wife, and she's misbehaving. What did Jesus do when the church misbehaved? How did he show the church love when they misbehaved? Oh, he pulled them up and threatened them with destruction. And just staunched them and just told them they better get their fucking act together or they're fucked, cunt. Okay, well, if that's the example Jesus gives of how to love your wife, to love the church when they're being disobedient, to just threaten and staunch them and tell them to fucking do as they're told and get their act together or they're going to get destroyed, right? They'll fucking perish. And that would be what, like, booting her to the curb. It's like, alright, woman, get out. And she wouldn't take none of your stuff. That's satanic as. You'd keep 100% custody of all children. You'd keep 100% custody or ownership of all your property, everything. She'd take nothing. And you'd just boot her to the curb. And she'd have to fucking fend for herself and suffer. Right? That's the example Christ gives. Except obviously you don't want to just boot her to the curb straight away. That's like last option. You know, to destroy the church. That's why Jesus didn't just destroy the church straight away. He gave them time and warning. And he said, look, this is what you need to fix and do this and that and that. And I'm going to be patient with you and reprove you and discipline you along the way to try to get you to behave correctly so that I don't have to just destroy you and make you fucking perish. Because I love you. Right? So that's how we're commanded as Christians to love our wives. The same way Jesus loved the church. So the only actual example we have of Jesus enforcing some type of justice, discipline and justice, physically, upon the church, again, from love, in love, of the for the church, right? The only example we have is when Jesus, in Revelation, destroys the churches for their disobedience. So, where exactly are people getting the idea that loving your wife the way that Jesus loved the church somehow means you're not allowed to backhand her? And that's not loving her in the way that Jesus loved the church. Where do they get that idea? Nobody seems to know. They just pull it out their arse. Right? They can't quite explain how Jesus and his behaviour and how he showed love towards the church, how that in any way contradicts a husband loving his wife and backhanding her and putting her in her place. Like, where is the contradiction? Nobody's found it yet. Oh, maybe you can. People have been trying to for thousands of years, but nobody's been able to yet. Maybe you're the genius who can find this connection, all right? Because nobody else has been able to. Now, if we look at the full context of this understanding, all right, and teaching and principle, a husband is to love his wife the same way Christ loves the church, okay? And the wife is to love her husband the same way the church loves Jesus. So it's completely different. Okay, so let's get that understanding sorted off the bat. Alright. If you're expecting a husband to love a wife the same way that a wife is to love a husband, if you think there's like a mutual love, equal or mutual love, then you don't understand how love works. Because love is not equal and mutual. Love is hierarchical. Okay? There's always a hierarchical relationship within the expression and sharing of love. Alright? Because nothing is equal to anything else. Everything is unique. And everything has a certain order, a hierarchy. Certain things are above other things, certain things are below other things. So if something below is loving something above, it has to love the thing that's above it differently to the thing that's above loving the thing that's below it. So those two things, two beings, or whatever it is, that are loving each other, the church loving Christ, Christ loving the church, a wife loving a husband loving a wife, all right? Parents loving children, children loving parents. Each dynamic of relationship where love is expressed between individuals, all right, there's a hierarchy, and there's someone loving up and there's someone loving down. And that's why love doesn't look the same from both parties in a relationship, because there's always someone loving down and someone loving up. So the ways that the love is expressed is completely different, depending on where you are in that relationship. If you're a woman, you're automatically below men, all right? So as a man, you're automatically above all women. So naturally, a husband is above his wife, the same way Christ is above the church. That's why the husband is to love his wife the same way Christ loves the church. He's to love down to her, and she is to love him the same way the church loves Christ, to love up to him. So when you're loving down, you're an authority. You're the master. You give the commands. Okay? You protect, you guide. You're in charge. You make the decisions for the benefit of those below you that you are loving down to. All right? You are their shepherd, their guide, their protector, their king. So that's what parents are to children. It's what a husband is to a wife. It's what Christ is to the church. That's what God is to everything and everyone. And when you're loving up, because you're below the individual that you're loving, and they're above you, so they're loving down to you and you're loving up to them, like a wife loving a husband, right? Or the church loving Christ. That entails being a good slave, being submissive, doing as you're told. Again, the same. This is also how children love up to their parents. Being a good child, being a good slave, a servant, doing as you're told when you're told, being obedient. Not backchatting, even when you don't want to do the thing, even when you disagree, all right, with your parents as a child. The way to love your parents, even when you disagree, show them respect, do what you're told, be obedient, all right? That's how you love up. That's how we're all supposed to love God, all right? We're not equal to God. We can't love God the same way he loves us. God loves down to us. We love up to God. So God gives us law and commands and direction and authority, and we give God obedience, submission,
and we do as we're told. Because we're loving God, we're loving up, the same way a child would love their parents, or a wife would love her husband, because a woman is below her husband. She is below a man. Alright, so children are on the bottom, then women are above children, and then men are above women. And there's equal distance between men and women and children. Okay, so women are halfway between men and children. You got children here, men here, women are halfway. Alright? So women have to love up to men. And all the men and women and children who are disciples of Christ make up the church, which is the wife of God, the wife of Christ. And in the same way, we love up to Christ, to God, and we serve and do as we're told and are obedient, good slaves, because we're loving up, and that's how you love up to those who are above you. So, one of the ways that you love down, and that Jesus showed us, again, is through reproving and disciplining those below you. God clearly says, don't spare a child the rod. Okay? You're supposed to spank children, physically discipline them. God says this himself. If you don't physically spank your children and actually hurt them, make them cry so they know they've done wrong, if and when they do wrong, obviously not just randomly, you're not abusing them, you're disciplining them. Remember? Two completely different things. Alright? So you don't harm them, you don't abuse them, you show them love and respect. They actually care, they're not scared of you. They know when they get spanked, and they take responsibility for it. They're not going to blame you as a parent for spanking them and hurting them, because they understand that they've done wrong and they deserve to be disciplined and spanked when they do wrong, so they can learn to do good and behave themselves. Alright? So it's not hard to have a relationship with a young child, even a toddler, before they can even speak, and them to understand why they're being disciplined, and for them to accept it and to know that they just need to behave better. Like children, even toddlers, even 1.5-year-old fucking babies can comprehend this and appreciate, and they like you more. If you're the parent who disciplines them and spanks them, they'll like you more than the parent that doesn't, because you actually love them more because you're spanking them. And the child can understand this and knows this. In the same way, as children of God, we know that if God disciplines us and reproves us and punishes us if we're being sinful or ignorant or proud or whatever it is, we appreciate that God corrects us and puts us on the right path and disciplines us, because we know that we can't do that for ourselves. We need someone above us loving down and disciplining us with love, alright, who's in a position of authority to love down to us, to actually correct us, to make us better. And we appreciate that. Children also appreciate that if you discipline them properly. Even if you're spanking them and they're crying their eyes out and they're like, you know, you're leaving a big red mark on their bum that's there for fucking half a week, right, bruised up. The children will actually appreciate it. They learn to appreciate it and actually respect you more as a parent and love you more than the parent who doesn't spank them. Because you're actually disciplining them with that love from above, that authoritative love. So, there's no logical argument against loving someone below you and disciplining them because you love them. Alright? That's what good, loving people do. And the only argument people have ever given me, literally the only argument anyone's ever had, is that for apparently it being bad, and you shouldn't ever backhand your wife if she needs that discipline, right? Because she needs to be put in her place. You should just let her destroy herself instead, right? Let her become one of these women
driving up against the ICE agents, getting shot in the face. Let her just destroy herself instead of actually just backhanding her every now and again. The only argument anyone's ever given me is, oh, but you're supposed to love your wife the way Jesus loves the church. And then it's when you actually explain it, oh yeah, well, Jesus did discipline the church. He actually he threatened churches with utter destruction, and then they didn't fix their behaviour, and he utterly destroyed them. Like, he fucked them up. So he did, yeah, Jesus disciplined his wife, his church, and he told her how to fucking act and what to do, and threatened her that if she didn't do what she was told, and get her act together, she was fucked, and she'd get booted to the curb. Like, and she'd fucking perish. So, I'm not sure, again, where they get the idea that Jesus wouldn't backhand his wife, because he clearly did discipline the church, and he backhanded the fuck out of the church plenty of times, spiritually, right? And then even physically destroyed the original churches who were misbehaving. Utterly annihilated. But the thing that these individuals always seem to leave out, they leave out the emphasis of, well, the wife is supposed to love the husband the way that the church loved Christ. So she's supposed to be obedient and do as she's told, never backchat, just accept the 100% authority of the husband in all matters. Right? So people love to leave all of that out of this argument. They try to put it all on, all the weight on the man's shoulders, which is understandable because we have to carry everything. We always have, and we always do, and we always will. So they naturally want to put all the weight on the man's shoulders. And they will say, oh, but aren't you supposed to love your wife the same way Jesus loved the church? And you're like, yeah, well, that's why I'm saying we should backhand our wives every now and again, put them in their place, if they're not being obedient, good wives. If they need to be backhanded and disciplined, then that's what we should do, because we love them, and we should discipline our wives if we love them. We've got to love down because we're the authority above them. The same way you discipline children. If you're a loving husband, you have to discipline your wife. That's just a part of being a man and being a loving husband. Loving your wife the same way Jesus loved the church. And then, so they usually don't comprehend, they're too stupid to comprehend that. But they never really push the opposite, which is like, hey, but isn't the wife supposed to be, in that context, if you're going to say you're supposed to love your wife the same way Jesus loved the church, then obviously you have to as well believe and push the idea that, which is its counter, all right, two sides of the same coin, that the wife has to love the husband the same way the church loved Jesus. So that means she needs to do as she's told, never backchat. Only speak when she's given permission to speak. Be a good submissive slave to her husband, her master. And if she can't do that, then she's misbehaving. She's not being a good wife. She needs to be disciplined. Apparently, according to the same people who, their only argument why you shouldn't backhand your wife is because you should love her the same way Jesus loved the church, and Jesus would definitely backhand the church. But they just leave out that your wife is supposed to love you the way the church loved Jesus, which means be a submissive slave and 100% obedient to your complete authority, which is divinely ordained. So not only if they disobey you as a husband, they're also disobeying God by disobeying you as their husband. Because you've been given authority by God over your wife as a husband. So they're actually serving Satan, disobeying God, and condemning their own soul to hell by being in rebellion against God, right? By just disobeying you as their husband. So it's actually a matter of their eternal salvation or damnation, whether or not they're going to have eternal life in heaven or if they're going to be punished for an eternity in hell.
how obedient they are as a wife. Because they can't be following the commands of Christ and loving God and serving God if they're not being an obedient wife, a slave unto their husband. So as a husband, you have to pull them up and discipline them and let them know when they're not being a good obedient slave. Otherwise, they're going to go to fucking hell, cunt, and suffer in hell for an eternity. And how is that loving your wife? Just condemning her to fucking rot and suffer for an eternity in hell because you're too much of a bitch to put her in her place and actually love her the way that Jesus loved the church and discipline her. And again, like I've said, obviously at the moment in this day and age, you're going to get in trouble because Satan has created laws and we're living in a satanic beast system with satanic laws that go against God's will. So if you backhand your wife at the moment under this satanic system, you're going to get in trouble off of Satan for being a good, godly, Christ-like, loving husband and backhanding your wife, doing the right thing, putting her in her place and disciplining her. So you can't do it right now because of the laws. You'll get in trouble off Satan. Right? But again, at the same time, you shouldn't have to do it if your wife is being a good, obedient wife. The only time it would be necessary to discipline a child, all right? You don't have to spank your child if your child is just good all the time. So whose responsibility is it for the spanking? Whose fault is it if they get spanked? Is it your fault as a parent for spanking your child? Or is it your child's fault for misbehaving? Because they know that they are supposed to be spanked if they misbehave, so that they're disciplined into not misbehaving. They know that if they misbehave and get spanked, it's their own responsibility, and they have to take accountability for it themselves, not blame the parent for spanking them. So if the child understands this and the child is just a well-behaved, good child, then they don't have to get spanked because they just know that that's what they should get if they misbehave, so that they don't and they just behave instead. In the same way, if a wife is simply aware that she can be disciplined, so all we'd have to do is just remove the fucking law that says you can't fucking backhand your wife, and just that being an option would be enough in most situations where a husband would never have to lay a hand on his wife because she knows that he can. And he's not going to get in trouble off the law. If he wanted to, he could just fucking backhand her under the couch, slap her over, and she's not going to get in trouble, and everyone's just going to tell him, good work, brother. Don't let her fucking speak to you like that or disrespect you like that as a man. Fucking oath, backhand her, good work, alright? Just the fact that that would even be a possibility means that almost every wife would be a good wife and do as she's told and be a fucking nice lady and they'd never misbehave, because they just know that if they did, they might get fucking backhanded. And no one's going to get in trouble for doing it because everyone will just accept that she deserved it. So she's going to be a good fucking wife and a good woman, and she's going to behave herself. But if you can't backhand her, if there's the law where you're going to get in trouble if you backhand your wife, then there's no repercussion, there's no option of discipline, alright? So she just decides to be a fucking bitch and be a bad wife. Naturally, she can't help it. She's just going to become more of a bad woman, a worse wife, perpetually. Worse and worse and worse as a woman. Less and less attractive. Huh? She'll care more about that than her behaviour, probably. But as men, we care about her behaviour more. We want her to be well behaved. We're not, But for the women out there, if you're not an obedient woman, you're just becoming less and less attractive. Alright? You're becoming more and more disgusting and less attractive. Even if you're a supermodel, you become less attractive and disgusting because you're not obedient. You're not doing as you're told. It's gross. Alright? But for the guys, alright, we
You obviously want women to behave and be obedient and be good women. Alright? Not to be chaotic and destroy everything and to destroy themselves. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's actually, if you care about women and you care about their well-being, you actually want to have the option of being able to physically backhand them, slap them across the face, put them in their place, intimidate them, so that that's just an option, so that it never has to be done, so that you can just, women will just know that it is an option, so that they will behave and be good women. Because if there's not something like that in place to keep them in check, they will naturally become worse women, bad women. They can't be good women, and then they themselves suffer. They themselves can't have the quality of life that these women, all women, could have had otherwise, if they just knew that there was this option of them being disciplined. Right? Exact same way with children. If a child isn't disciplined and raised properly, and there's no option that they're going to be spanked for being a bad kid, then they're just going to do whatever they want, and they're not going to learn to be well-adjusted adults in the world, and their quality of life is going to be deteriorated because of this fact. So if you actually care, the same way, if you care about women, right, you want to have them to have the best quality life possible, which means you have to have some option there where it's legal and accepted to backhand them, to physically discipline them, so you never have to actually do it, because they know that it might happen if they're not good. So that just incentivizes them, that helps them, it's like motivates them to be good